Hi, my name is Emmett, and today I am here to talk to you about something that is very important to me, and is probably not important to anyone else, but I'm still going to talk about it to you because you might find it interesting, regardless of whether you like Fall Out Boy or not. I will be talking about what the best Fall Out Boy karaoke songs are. First, I'm going to talk about what makes a good karaoke song. I have very strong opinions about this. Then I'm going to talk about why I'm specifically looking at Fall Out Boy songs. Then I'll talk about my methodology, just basically like how I went about considering the songs that I'm choosing for my ultimate list. And then I will walk you through all of the albums, all of Fall Out Boy's discography, picking out which songs are the best for karaoke and why. And I'll just say some of my final thoughts if I have any. So first, we have to talk about what makes a good karaoke song. Because some songs are really good songs, or they're really good songs like played live or performed live, but they are not good karaoke songs specifically. So there are four main criteria that I am going to be looking at. Number one is that the song is not too long. If your song is over 5 minutes long, I think that's kind of rude. This is different like if you're in a booth with your friends or something like that. I guess I'm more talking about like the more American idea of like going to a karaoke bar or a bar where there is karaoke and it's like everybody's in the same room waiting for their turn. I just think it's kind of rude to pick a song that's really long, like 10 minutes or whatever, when most other people are only singing a 3 or 4 minute song. And then it's like if I'm the person that's going after you and you start singing a really long song and especially if I don't know it, so like I don't even know like, oh, this is gonna be another 10 minutes before I go, like the song won't end and I'm trying to figure out where it's gonna end. Like, I don't know, I just think that's a little inconsiderate. And then also like you have to be up there for a really long time too. Like it's not like you're not doing anything. So if the song's over 5 minutes, you're probably not gonna be able to convince me that it's a good karaoke song. The second point is that the song is not too repetitive. A lot of 80s and 90s songs that you would think would be like good crowd pleasers or something actually have this problem where it's just like the outro is like 4 choruses that are like very slowly fading out, and it's just like I don't know if you've ever had this experience of like being at a high school dance and a song like Fergalicious comes on, and at first it comes on and you're like, oh, that's pretty funny, like haha, but then like as the song goes on and it keeps like not ending, you just can't keep from asking yourself how many more times she's gonna say Fergalicious, like to the point where it kind of starts to drive you crazy. Like you don't want to realize that you're doing that to other people. So we don't want that. We don't want a song that's super repetitive. The third thing that makes a song a good karaoke song is that there are not too many long instrumental breaks. This is kind of similar, honestly, to like not being too repetitive, and that like I think this is a problem that is fixed when you're playing a song live. Because it's like, obviously, if you're listening to this long epic guitar solo and you're watching someone play it, like that's amazing, that's really fun. But when it's just you on stage and you're singing to the backing track and you just kind of have to like wait for the riff to be over. And I think also that's a moment where you start to get self-conscious. You remember what you're doing because you're not singing anymore. Like you're just standing there and you like realize everyone is looking at you. Even if it's a really cool instrumental break, you don't want to make other people listen to that when the whole point is that you're singing. Again, this is all my opinion, but the fourth and final thing that you have to think about when you're deciding whether or not a song is a good or bad karaoke song is probably the most difficult because it depends on you, like the person who's going to be doing the karaoke. It's going to sound kind of bad, but let me explain. You have to sound fine. Now let me explain what I mean because because I genuinely believe that everyone can sing. I genuinely believe that. And most people who say they can't are just saying that because they think they're not very good, when actually like they are. But also sometimes you sound better singing in a certain range or singing a certain kind of music. Like I grew up doing musical theater and I didn't have a great musical theater singing voice. So I told myself I couldn't sing. I said that for years. And then in college, I sung in 3 different bands for 3 years. because I realized it's not that I can't sing at all. It's just that I sound better singing a different genre of music. I really think that's how it is for most other people, is that if people think they can't sing, it's just because like they think they have to be really good to be able to sing in front of people. And I don't think that's true. And so that's why I said that you have to sound fine. You don't have to be the best person on stage that night. You really don't. And I'm also not saying that like if your voice cracks or a note is too high for you or a note is too low for you, or if you mess up, like I'm not saying that you shouldn't do karaoke or that you can't sing, but it's like you can also make a choice that will set yourself up for success. Like, because also like you'll feel more confident if you know that you can hit all of the notes in a song, and that'll help you perform better too. You don't have to be perfect and you don't have to be amazing, but when choosing a song to sing in front of other people, you know, having your own strengths and weaknesses in mind is very important, I think. So those are the 4 things that you have to think about when you're choosing a karaoke song. Why Fall Out Boy? I want to talk about Fall Out Boy because I like them. I really love Fall Out Boy. I'm super into them right now. I listen to them a lot and I think about them a lot. If you don't want to hear about Fall Out Boy, you wouldn't have clicked on this video. So I don't feel like I have to justify like why I'm talking about Fall Out Boy specifically, but I do feel that I can provide some credentials. The Fall Out Boy notebook. The Fall Out Boy notebook started out as my like regular notebook that I just took all my like notes in for class. But as I started getting back into Fall Out Boy during the spring, it sort of evolved. Like this is Infinity on High. So I ranked all the songs and then I wrote them out in order. And then I gave each song a score out of 10. I like added up all the song scores together and then divided it by the number of songs on the album to figure out like what average each album had. I did end up giving up before finishing that, but like here was me doing long division by hand about Fall Out Boy. I was doing that about Fall Out Boy. Also, don't like look at the scores or the orders and take them personally, because I think some of them would be different now. I think a lot of them would be. Oh, this is where I ranked all of the bridges. Like I think I just did pre-hiatus Fall Out Boy, but I ranked every bridge by its lyrics and its vocals and its instrumentals, and then I picked like what my favorite bridges were. And then this one's kind of crazy. This is Homesick at Space Camp, which is from their first album. So I wrote out all the lyrics and then I did like a genius lyric annotation. Like all this to say that I'm pretty qualified to talk about Fall Out Boy, I think. Methodology. This is basically the section where I'm gonna explain all of the things that I did not pick any songs from. I did not choose any songs from Evening Out with Your Girlfriend. I like it. I listen to it all the time. None of those songs are good for karaoke. This also applies to My Heart Will Always Be the B-side. The deep cuts like Austin We Have a Problem and Star 6-7. I don't even know if karaoke versions exist for those songs. And then this is maybe also controversial, Nothing from Pac-Sam Days. I want to make it really clear, it's not that I think that those EPs, albums, songs are not good, but they can be bad karaoke songs. For the rest of this video, if I say that a song is good or bad, I'm not talking about it generally, I'm talking about it within the context of being good for karaoke, again, based on the parameters that we learned about in part 1. I'm also thinking about like a general audience. Like if this was like Fall Out Boy karaoke night or something, like it was themed and it was like the people there were going to know all of the songs and like get what they mean, this would be a completely different list. But like for the normal like Friday night karaoke bar, generally you can assume the room is uninitiated to Fall Out Boy and they definitely know Centuries and maybe a couple other ones depending on how old they are. So, you know, we're considering this for the general public as well. Yes, I'm wearing a new outfit and new earrings. it's a different day. I really did think about reshooting this whole video so that the lighting would be the same and then my outfit would be the same. But I already started editing the first half. I'm not redoing it. If I can get over it, so can you. I'm just addressing it. So now that we have gone over the criteria we are looking for, and I'll just remind you really fast that that the song is not too long, that it's not too repetitive, that there's not a super long instrumental break, and that you can sound good singing it. And so with that, I want to add that some of the songs on this list I included not because I personally can sing them or would choose them for a karaoke song, but if somebody had a slightly different range than me, I still think these songs would work. I didn't want to leave stuff off the list just because of like my limitations, but I will acknowledge that when we get to it. Starting off with Fall Out Boy's first album, Take This to Your Grave, there are 2 songs on this album that I think are good karaoke songs. The first song is Saturday, which is just a really great song. If you're a Fall Out Boy fan, you know why that song is so great and the meaning behind it and everything, so I won't get into that. But it's also a really good karaoke song. It's not too long, it's not too complicated. Also, there are a couple of sort of higher notes that Patrick sings near the end, specifically at the bridge and the last chorus, and if you can hit those, you'll sound pretty good. And then the other option is a little riskier, I think, if you know the song less. But Chicago is So 2 Years Ago. That song just has a lot of great energy. It's upbeat, like, it's angry, it's very angsty. The great thing about Chicago So 2 Years Ago, too, is that there are not a lot of instrumental breaks, like, at all. So you're pretty much singing the whole time, but there's not a lot of fluctuation. Like, if it's in your range, I don't think it's that hard to sing. The one thing I will say, though, is that if you don't know this song as well, the lyrics in the pre-chorus are kind of fast, specifically the part where it's like, and every pane of glass that your pebbles tab negates, like that whole thing right before they go into the chorus. That's hard for me to sing like dead sober. So I can imagine that if I was at karaoke and I'd maybe had a couple drinks, I would maybe be a little hesitant about whether or not I could confidently say those words fast enough. So that's just something to keep in mind if you don't know the song as well, or if you tend to trip over your words really easily. Like if that would make you anxious, the idea of maybe messing up the words, maybe don't do this song, but I still think it's a great option. So moving on to From Under the Cork Tree. The sad thing about From Under the Cork Tree is that pretty much every song on this album is sort of subject to the way better live problem. Like a lot of these songs have really extended instrumental breaks that I just kind of can't justify using as a karaoke song. Or there are a couple songs where like the vocals are layered, like in Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying, where like it would sound better with another person there. You might be saying, well, just make it a duet. No, because I have some picked out for duets. I have 2 specifically that I think would make really great duets. Get Busy Living, that's not it. The other person doesn't have enough going on, so it's like you doing 90% of the singing and then another person kind of having to awkwardly stand there for their part. I'm not doing that. I'm not subjecting my friend to that, even if they do like Fall Out Boy. You know what I mean? Also, you have to be careful because you would think, right? You would think, oh, Dance Dance, Sugar We're Going Down. You know, Dance Dance is an upbeat song. Sugar We're Going Down is very popular. Obviously, they're both very popular. But you would think like, oh, that's probably a pretty safe karaoke bet, right? Wrong. Wrong. They are not good karaoke songs. They are not the best karaoke songs that you could do, and I will explain why. With these specifically, I will explain why. Dance Dance has a really strong start. Like, the first verse is fun, you get to the chorus, it's great, but then there's the really long instrumental before you get to the bridge, and then also the last chorus goes for kind of a long time. Again, I think this is a great song, but it's just like a little too awkward when there's not a live band with you and it's just the backing track and you're just singing. Sugar We're Going Down, to me, is almost like the greater betrayal, because you would think, well, it's their most popular pre-hiatus song. Of course it would be a great pick for karaoke. Wrong. This one, the instrumentals are even worse, specifically like between the choruses and the verses. And then the outro, they sing the chorus like so many times. And also that last chorus has the layered, like the main, we're going down, down, but then also like the take aim at myself part. That's another thing where like you have to pick which one you're doing, but it doesn't translate as well if there's only one person singing. Just don't do it. So you're probably wondering, well, is there a song on this album that you would recommend for karaoke? Yes, there is. And I'm wondering if you can guess it. If you're a fan, take a second, try to guess. Okay, now I'm gonna tell you. A little less 16 Candles, a little more Touch Me. I have always been a 16 Candles truther. I mean, I don't know what there is to truth about. I've just always really liked that song. I think it's super underrated from that album. The music video is maybe my favorite Fall Out Boy music video. There are a couple up there, but that one's really good. That one's really good. And look, whatever your opinion is about that song, you have to hand it to them. It's a good karaoke song. It's upbeat. The instrumental breaks aren't too long. There's enough variation to where it sounds interesting. I think it's a great choice. Highly recommend this one. So, Infinity on High. So the main issue with Infinity on High in terms of finding a karaoke song is that Patrick is going all over the place. He is doing some seriously difficult stuff, and I tried not to exclude songs just because I personally can't sing them. I did, though, rule out a lot of songs where there is a lot of variation within the same song, or even like within the same verse or chorus pattern. Like songs that are just objectively really hard to sing unless you have an insane range, like Patrick Stump. Me and You, I'm Like a Lawyer. That was a song that I wanted to put on this list. I love that song and I think it's beautiful, but the way it goes all over the place, like even just in the chorus, is so difficult. That being said, there are two songs on this album that I think are good karaoke songs. The first one is actually the song that made me like think of this video and start thinking about this, because I was singing this in the car and I was like, oh man, like this would actually be a really good karaoke song. And then I started thinking about, well, what other songs are good? And that is Thanks for the Memories. Thanks for the Memories is kind of a perfect karaoke song because it's not the most popular Fall Out Boy song, but it is like pretty well known. Definitely not the most obscure song on that album anyway. It's upbeat, it has a lot of great energy. There really aren't any super long instrumental breaks except for maybe after the first chorus going into the second verse, but that one's not that bad. Also, the nice thing about Thanks for the Memories is that it kind of has some options for what you can do. Like when you're singing the He Tastes Like You Only Sweeter, you can choose if you want to sing the low part or the high part, you know, whichever one you're more comfortable with. Or like at the end when Patrick is doing all of the whoas over the last chorus, you can just not do those and you can just sing the chorus. So I think Thanks for the Memories is one of the best options on this list. The other song on this album that I think would be good for karaoke is actually a bonus track, and it's Ginnassfs. I don't know how you say it, but that's how I say it. First of all, it's just like one of the best Fall Out Boy songs ever, one of the best love songs ever. I'm very partial to it. This is a song that I put on this list that I actually can't sing well. For reference, I'm like an alto. It's been a while since I was like singing in a choir or something and been assigned a vocal part, but years ago when I was doing it, I was an alto. This song is too high for me. But I also think that if you have the voice for this song is a really good option too. I do think that this song kind of has the same thing as Chicago So 2 Years Ago, where if you don't know the words super well, they are pretty fast. And obviously you don't have to sing a song perfectly. And even if you know all the words to a song, you can still mess up. But this is a song where it goes so fast and the words are so close together that it can be pretty easy to start stumbling over them. So that's something to keep in mind as well, but still a really good option. With that, we move to the last pre-hiatus album, Folie Deux. Folie Deux was my favorite album when I was listening to Fall Out Boy in middle school, like when I first got into them. I love it, but this album does have a lot of instrumental breaks. It's doing a lot of really interesting things with the instrumentation of the songs, but that does mean that they're better live and they're not as good when you're doing them for karaoke. This actually kind of devastates me. 27 would be the perfect karaoke song were it not for the guitar solo, but the guitar solo is so good. It's one of my favorite Fall Out Boy guitar solos like ever. It's part of what makes 27 such a good song. So it's not that I wish it wasn't there, but I can also acknowledge that if it wasn't there, 27 would be a perfect karaoke song. But as it is, it has this wonderful riff, and therefore it is not a great karaoke song. So the only song I can recommend for karaoke on this album is actually the first duet, $20 Nosebleed. Complicated feelings about Brendan Urie and Panic at the Disco as somebody who listened to them for years and has strong opinions about lots of things, especially music. Say what you will about Brendan, but he was not asleep in the studio that day, okay? And neither was Patrick. I also think that singing this song is really fun because like this is a duet where the other person would really have to know the song well to be able to like do their part. So you would probably be singing this with a friend who is a really big fan of Fall Out Boy or Panic, or maybe just this song specifically. So I think this song would be a really cute duet. I really like the idea of two people knowing this song well enough and being good enough friends to be able to go up on stage and sing it together. I think that's really sweet. Oh, actually, okay, before we get into like earnest post-hiatus Fall Out Boy, I do want to include a song from the Greatest Hits album. Like, they're not singles because they're on the album, but they're tracks that are only on the Greatest Hits album. And the song I'm specifically talking about is From Now On We Are Enemies. That's another song that I think that I probably wouldn't ever sing in front of people because it's pretty high for me. But if you can hit those notes in the chorus, amazing, stunning, go for it. I highly encourage it. And also generally, I think the song is underrated, which is maybe why you heard a little bit more passion and fervor in my voice while I was talking about it. But yeah, I love that song, and great for karaoke. Okay, so now we can actually start talking about post-hiatus Fall Out Boy. Obviously, we're gonna start with Save Rock and Roll. Save Rock and Roll has the other duet that I would recommend for karaoke, which is Just One Yesterday. I mean, dude, come on. The original song, I love I love her voice. It's so good. I think it sounds so good when she sings with Patrick, like when they sing together in the chorus. It's so good. And if you have a friend that like knows this song well enough or loves Fall Out Boy like as much as you do, and you guys could go sing this together, like I just love that. I love that. This also kind of goes for $20 Nosebleed too, obviously because there's a lot of impressive vocal stuff happening. So like if you're really confident in your singing and you have a friend who's really confident in their singing and you guys get to go up on stage and like kill it together, I just think that's awesome. The other song on this album that I would recommend for karaoke is Miss Missing You. I do think it's a slightly dangerous choice because there are some almost too long instrumental pauses between the choruses and the verses, especially like when you're getting to the end and you're just repeating the chorus again. And this is another one that's a little too high for me, but it's a really good song. I think especially if you're going through it. As someone who performs live music, I really enjoy seeing when people playing a song like really get into it. Like watching the singer really feel the emotions, or when the rest of the band, like you can tell they are like really locked in on what they're doing. I think that's cool. So I think it's okay to really like throw your whole heart into a song. And Miss Missing You is such a heartbreaker. Like if you're feeling that, everybody else who's watching you sing it is gonna feel it too. American Beauty, American Psycho has two songs that I would recommend. The first one is Irresistible. First of all, I just think it's a really underrated Fall Out Boy song. The lyrics are so good, especially in the verses. Like, be serious. I also think that the range on this song isn't too intense. Like, if you can hit the kind of higher notes in the chorus, you are set for the rest of the song. So I think it's a pretty safe choice. My other pick for this album is 4th of July. Another amazing song. I think this one's a little tricky because you have to be pretty high in the chorus and like the verses, but then in that pre-chorus, like the I'm so sorry I didn't mean any, that part, you kind of have to go all over the place, which is a little difficult for some people. So definitely maybe like test drive this one in the car before you decide to do it for karaoke just to see how you personally weather that storm. You know what I mean? Next, we will move on to Mania. Mania to me is really similar to Folie deux because I think they're doing a lot of like sonic experimentation, like really changing up their sound. Also, like the majority of the fan base didn't like those albums when they came out. There are a lot of parallels to be made there, actually. But because of the kind of like experimentation, they're doing a lot with like the sound of it. And I think that's like part of what is so great about Mania, means that it doesn't really translate that well to being on a karaoke stage. Mania also has Patrick going all over the place, like Heaven's Gate and Church. I know I couldn't sing those live confidently. The way that he sounds so amazing singing them, I can't get into it. I can't get into it. All this to say that there is one song on Mania that I would recommend for karaoke, and it is The Last of the Real Ones. This is another song that to me is kind of mostly staying in the same range. So if you can hit the like kind of pre-chorus, like the you were too good to be true, gold plated. Like if you can hit that, you're fine and you'll sound good singing this song. And then before we talk about So Much for Stardust, I'm gonna bring in another song from the Greatest Hits, this time from the second Greatest Hits album, Dear Future Self, Hands Up, which is the collab that they did with Wyclef Jean. This is a song that I don't ever really hear any commotion for, but it's fun. It's peppy, it's got a beat. I think it's a great karaoke song. You might be saying to yourself, well, you were saying earlier, like some songs have two people singing on it, and it doesn't work, so you can't do it for karaoke. This isn't one of those. It works if you know the rap. So I wouldn't do it yet because I don't know the rap super well and I wouldn't feel confident getting up there and doing it. But if you can do it, you can sing that whole song by yourself. I fully think that's doable. This brings us to the last Fall Out Boy album for now, So Much for Stardust. So Much for Stardust, while an amazing album, is kind of the worst of both worlds for karaoke because there are a lot of long instrumentals and it's really hard to sing. The instrumentals, again, is kind of similar to Mania and Folie, where like this was very experimental for them. Like they were trying a lot of new creative processes. And I, again, not dunking on the album, not dunking on the songs, but it doesn't translate the same way when it's just a backing track and you're singing by yourself. And then the other problem is just like, yeah, Patrick is hitting some crazy notes. It's not even that he's hitting like one high note that you could just opt out of. It's like the whole song will be up there, or a whole chunk of the song will be up there. But there are two songs on this album that I think are really good karaoke songs, and I will tell them to you now. The first one, Hold Me Like a Grudge. Classic. I mean, not a classic, it just came out a year ago, but you know what I mean. There are some instrumental stuff, specifically the chorus, where like you kind of have to wait a second before you repeat Hold Me Like a Grudge, and you just do that a few times. Not ideal, but it's not so bad that I think it makes the song like unkaraokeable. The last song I'm going to put on this list is one that I won't sing because it's too high for me. But So Good Right Now. So Good Right Now is really good because it sounds really peppy and it sounds really happy, but then obviously the lyrics are not. And that juxtaposition, one, I think is completely on purpose, and two, is really, really fun at karaoke because if you're there with Fall Out Boy friends or if Fall Out Boy fans are there, like they'll know what you're going through, but anybody uninitiated will just think that you're having a good time, which I think is kind of funny. So with that, that is all the Fall Out Boy albums, and those are all the songs that are good for karaoke. I would also just like to say for the record, I would love to be disputed. If you have songs that you think I overlooked or that you would want to sing at karaoke, like please tell me about them. I would love to talk about them. I think part of the reason I'm making this video is maybe so I can talk to people about Fall Out Boy that aren't my friends who don't know or care about Fall Out Boy. If you're a Fall Out Boy fan, I hope that this maybe gave you some inspiration about how you can bring your hyperfixation to the masses. If you don't like Fall Out Boy, but you like karaoke, like that was the search term that got you to this video, I hope you learned something about how to pick a good karaoke song. If you don't care about either and you're just watching this because I sent it to you and asked you to watch it because you're my friend, thank you for watching it because you're my friend. I know that I had a lot of fun thinking about and making this video, so I hope if you're watching, if you watched to this point, that you also got something out of it. Thank you for watching if you did get this far. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I don't know. Fall Out Boy forever. Okay, so